Picture this. It's a regular weekday morning. You're already multitasking, checking the time, answering a message, mentally running through everything you need to get done today. You get in the car, turn the key, and then you see it. That small orange light on the dashboard, the check engine light. Your stomach tightens instantly. You don't even know what's wrong yet, but your brain jumps ahead anyway. You're not thinking about mechanics or parts. You're thinking about money, about your bank account, about whether you can afford whatever this is going to turn into. You tell yourself it's probably nothing. You turn up the music. You promise you'll deal with it later. Because later feels safer than right now. And here's the quiet truth most people don't say out loud. Ignoring the problem isn't laziness, it's math. Maybe fixing it today would cost $300, but today you have $47 until payday, so you wait. Weeks pass, then months. The noise gets worse. And eventually, the car doesn't just warn you. It stops. On the highway, in the rain. On a day you absolutely cannot afford to miss work. Now you need a tow. That's $200. The original issue damaged something bigger. Now the repair is $2,000. You miss work because you don't have a car. There goes another few $100. What started as a $300 problem quietly became a $2,500 disaster. This isn't bad luck. And it's definitely not a personal failure. This is a financial trap, one that disproportionately affects people who already feel like they're barely holding everything together. Welcome to the real cost of being broke. My name is Scarlett, and here on Scarlett Finance, we talk about money the way it actually shows up in real life. Emotional, exhausting, stressful, and deeply unfair at times. If you've ever felt like you're doing everything right, working hard, being responsible, saying no to things, but somehow never getting ahead, this video is for you. Because today, we're not talking about stocks, crypto, or becoming rich overnight. We're talking about something much more uncomfortable. Why having less money often means you end up paying more for everything. Here's where most financial advice completely misses the point. You've probably heard it before. Just be more disciplined, stop buying coffee, cancel your subscriptions, as if a $6 latte is the reason your finances feel fragile. That advice sounds logical, but it ignores a brutal economic reality. There is a built-in penalty for not having money. And economists didn't invent this idea, a novelist did. It's called the Boots Theory. The idea is simple. Imagine to people. One has money. The other doesn't. The person with money buys a high-quality pair of boots for $100. They last 10 years. The person without money can't afford that. They buy $25 boots instead, cheap materials. Thin soles. They fall apart every year. Over 10 years. The first person spends $100, the second person spends $250, and still has wet feet. That's the math of being broke. You don't pay more because you're careless. You pay more because you don't have access to better options. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but boots aren't really my problem, fair, so let's talk about something more familiar. Everyday essentials. If you have extra cash, you buy in bulk. You shop at warehouse stores. You get the lower price per unit. You plan ahead. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, you don't have that luxury. You don't buy the $40 pack that lasts months. You buy the $5 version that lasts days. Paper towels, toilet paper, laundry detergent, diapers, feminine hygiene products. You're paying more, not because you want to, but because cash flow forces you to. This is called the poverty premium, and it quietly raises your personal inflation rate. Two people can live in the same city, buying the same products, and still experience completely different costs of living simply because one of them has savings and the other doesn't. But it doesn't stop at groceries. Let's talk about banks. If you have money, banks love you. No fees, no stress. Maybe even rewards. But if you're struggling, one forgotten subscription hits your account. You're short by $4. The bank doesn't ask if you're okay. They charge you $35. Think about that for a moment. You borrowed $4 and paid $35 for it. That's not poor decision making. That's a system designed to profit from scarcity. And here's the part that's especially important, particularly for women. Because money stress doesn't just cost you dollars. It costs you mental energy. When you're constantly worried about money, rent, bills, emergencies, your brain is in survival mode. Studies show that financial stress can reduce cognitive capacity significantly. Your ability to plan, focus, and think long-term actually drops, which means you're more exhausted, more overwhelmed, more likely to choose what's easiest, not what's optimal. Not because you're irresponsible, because you're human. The real trap isn't just financial. It's psychological. And once you're stuck in it, every decision feels heavier than it should. This is where we pause. Because before we talk about solutions, investments, or getting ahead, you need to understand something clearly. Being broke is not just a lack of money. It's a compounding cost. And until you see the math behind it, it's easy to blame yourself for a system that was never designed to be gentle. In the next part, we're going deeper into cars, credit, housing, and why monthly payments are one of the most dangerous illusions in personal finance. Now let's talk about one of the biggest financial pressure points in adult life, cars. Because unless you live in a handful of major cities, a car isn't a luxury. It's survival. It's how you get to work, how you take care of your family, how you keep your life moving. And this is where the poverty penalty becomes painfully obvious. If you have savings and decent credit, the math works in your favor. You buy a reliable car, maybe a 3-year-old Toyota or Honda. You either pay cash or get a low-interest loan. The interest rate is reasonable. The repairs are minimal. The car runs quietly in the background of your life. It doesn't demand attention. It doesn't create emergencies. It doesn't steal your sleep. Now compare that to someone without savings. You still need a car. Not for comfort, for income. So you go to a buy here, pay here dealership. The price tag looks manageable because they don't talk about total cost. They talk about monthly payments. What they don't highlight, the car is worth far less than what you're paying. The interest rate is brutal. The car is unreliable. By the time the loan ends, you may have paid 2 or 3 times the actual value of the vehicle. And here's the cruel part. The car often breaks down before it's paid off. Now you're still making payments, but also scrambling to fix or replace it. This isn't irresponsibility. This is paying a risk premium for not having money. Society labels you high risk and then charges you extra for it. And this pattern shows up everywhere. Let's talk about housing. Renting versus owning isn't just a lifestyle choice. It's a mathematical divide. When you rent, 100% of your payment disappears every month, no equity, no ownership, no long-term payoff. But to buy a home, you need a down payment. And here's the trap. Rent prices are so high that saving a down payment becomes nearly impossible. So you stay renting, which keeps your costs high, which prevents you from saving, which keeps you renting. Meanwhile, someone with capital buys a home, locks in lower monthly payments, and builds wealth simply by existing inside the system. It's not that renters are bad with money. It's that they're renting stability itself. Now let's talk about something people rarely factor into financial discussions. Time, if you have resources. Life is efficient. Laundry takes 5 minutes of effort. Groceries are one trip. Problems get handled quickly. But when you don't, every task costs extra time. Think about laundromats. If you don't have a washer and dryer, you travel there. You wait, you carry everything back. That's hours of your life. Not resting, not learning, not earning, just maintaining survival. Or think about food access. In many low-income neighborhoods, there aren't affordable grocery stores nearby. There are convenience stores with inflated prices. To get real groceries, you may need a bus ride, Extra fare, extra time, extra energy. Being broke doesn't just cost money. It steals your future earning potential by draining your time. And this matters deeply for women. Because women already carry a disproportionate mental and emotional load, managing households, caregiving, planning, anticipating needs. Financial scarcity stacks on top of that. It's not just stress, it's chronic exhaustion. At this point, you might be thinking, this feels overwhelming, and you're not wrong. Understanding this system can feel heavy, almost discouraging. Because once you see the math, you realize something uncomfortable: the game is not fair. But here's the shift. You don't need to win the entire game. You just need to stop bleeding. Most financial advice tells you to chase returns, invest, optimize, maximize. But if you're dealing with scarcity, the smartest move isn't chasing growth. It's eliminating penalties. If you're paying 20% credit card interest, late fees, overdraft fees, predatory car loans, paying those off isn't boring. It's a guaranteed return. A 20% interest rate is a negative investment. Eliminating it is a 20% win. No stock market required. This brings us to the most important concept in escaping the poverty trap: the buffer. Not wealth, not abundance. Not luxury, a buffer. That first $1,000, that emergency fund. That small margin of safety. Because once you have a buffer, everything changes. A flat tire becomes annoying, not catastrophic. A medical bill becomes manageable, not panic-inducing. A mistake doesn't spiral into debt. That buffer lets you avoid payday loans, increase insurance deductibles, buy higher quality items once instead of cheap ones. Repeatedly having money saved actually lowers your monthly expenses. That's the part no one tells you. Savings isn't passive. It's protective. And here's where mindset matters. When you finally have a little breathing room, the temptation is strong to treat yourself, because deprivation hurts. And feeling normal matters. But the most powerful use of early savings isn't comfort. It's permanence, fixing the problem at the root. Buying the thing that lasts, handling the issue before it multiplies. This isn't about denying joy. It's about buying future peace. It's shifting from, can I afford this payment? To what does this cost me over time? That shift alone can change everything. In the final part, we're going to talk about how to audit your life for poverty penalties, how to choose which leak to plug first, and how to turn frustration into a strategy. This is where things get practical. So where does this leave you? If you've been listening to all of this thinking, okay, now I understand why everything feels harder, but what do I actually do? This is the part where most financial content either gets unrealistic or dismissive. We're not going to do that here. Because the goal isn't to magically escape the system overnight. The goal is to stop paying the invisible taxes that come with not having money. Here's the most important mindset shift you can make. You are not bad with money. You are operating inside a system that penalizes scarcity. Once you internalize that, the shame starts to loosen its grip. And shame is expensive. Shame keeps you stuck. Shame makes you avoid looking at numbers. Shame makes you think this is a personal flaw instead of a structural problem. But once you see it clearly, you can start fighting back, strategically. Step 1 is something I call a poverty penalty audit. This is not a budget. It's not a spreadsheet marathon. It's awareness. Ask yourself, where am I paying extra asterisk because asterisk I don't have cash? What costs me more overtime simply because I'm reacting instead of planning? This could be high interest debt, expensive car insurance due to low deductibles, subscription overdrafts. Frequent small repairs instead of one proper fix, buying disposable items repeatedly. You're not trying to fix everything. You're trying to find asterisk the biggest leak. The one that, if plugged, gives you the most relief. Then comes the part that feels extreme, but works. You cut everything else temporarily, not forever, not as punishment, as a strategic pause. If you need $500 to fix something that's draining you every month, every extra dollar you earn or save becomes ammunition. Side work, selling unused items. Short-term discomfort. This isn't hustling for hustle's sake. This is a targeted strike. You're not chasing more money. You're buying yourself out of a trap. And this is where I want to speak directly to women watching this. We are often taught to be accommodating, to smooth things over, to absorb stress quietly. Financial systems take advantage of that. They rely on you not questioning fees, not pushing back, not advocating for yourself. But once you understand the math, you stop being an easy customer. You ask for fee reversals. You refinance, you switch banks. You slow down purchases. You choose durability over aesthetics. Not because you don't deserve nice things, but because you deserve stability more. Here's the quiet truth. The system profits from you focusing on monthly payments, because monthly payments hide lifetime cost. When you shift your thinking to total cost of ownership interest paid over time replacement cycles, you become financially dangerous in the best way. You stop leaking money. You start building friction for the system, not yourself. And let's be honest, this journey is unfair. Going from $0 to $1,000 is harder than going from $10,000 to $20,000. The wind is strongest at the beginning. But momentum works both ways. Once you have a buffer, life stops hitting quite so hard. Once problems stop turning into emergencies, your brain gets quieter. Once your mind is quieter, your decisions get better. And better decisions compound. Not because you became smarter, but because you finally had room to breathe. This isn't about becoming rich. It's about becoming untrapped. It's about buying the boots that last, fixing the thing before it breaks, choosing the option that makes tomorrow easier instead of just today survivable, piece by piece, leak by leak. You don't escape all at once, you walk out. If this video helped you put words to something you've felt for years but couldn't explain, share it with someone you care about. We talk about success all the time, but we rarely talk about the traps. And understanding the trap is the first step out. Subscribe to Scarlet Finance if you want more conversations like this. Honest, practical, and grounded in reality. We're not here to shame. We're here to make the math work in your favor. Thank you for watching. And I'll see you in the next one.